Hi friends, how you doing? So I'm still doing the soy sauce and rice game for lunch today. It's so good. For me, simple vegan food is just always the best. I just realized you're probably going to hear my my sweet potatoes that are baking right now. The timer for those going off in just a second. Anyway, I haven't been doing a whole lot of videos recently. I guess I've needed to be involved in some exorcisms, so less time for videos. But I should be back to my normal output soon. Right. So today, I want to talk about what I consider to be the distinction between internal dialogue and self talk. These terms you hear a lot. Well, first of all, let's just talk about, but they're different from each other. Sometimes they're used interchangeably. But I think there's a powerful distinction to be made between considering internal dialogue and self-talk to be two completely different things. Although they overlap, of course, right? Well, first of all, I've been told that some people, I've read really, that some people are not aware of the internal dialogue that's happening in their minds. When I first heard that, I was just like, that's just ridiculous. That's impossible. But I guess it's true that many people are not aware that there's a running conversation going on. The two the two conversationalists being I and me, or me and myself. There's a lot of interesting ways of looking at it. But just think about how we walk through our lives, and in a reactive state, like we see someone who looks a certain way, and we have like in response to that, there are thoughts that happen, and those thoughts take the form of a conversation. Like, oh wow, look at that person, they're so pretty, that dress looks amazing on them. Or, wow, that person looks really dangerous, I bet they've been in jail a couple times, I should probably stay away from them. And there we are. And actually, let me turn that alarm off. One moment. Right. So, right. Thank you. So yeah, in our everyday life, we walk around, and in a reactive state, we it's just like robotic. We see certain things, we think certain things, we see food, and we say, "Wow, that looks good." Maybe I'm hungry. The amount of talking that happens in the mind, if you're aware of it, which you probably are, I assume, if you actually, when you notice that it's happening, if you tune into it and listen to it as if you were listening to a conversation between two people, you realize that the conversation is actually a lot more in depth than on first on first glance. Like, we might think it's just one thought, but really the internal dialogue is a conversation that goes back and forth all day long. And my belief, my knowing, I should say, because I really believe it's true, is that this internal dialogue is pretty much the biggest energy wasting thing that we do as human beings. Almost certainly the biggest waste of energy. Because there's simply this the commentary, the continuous commentary about everything, the incessant talking to ourselves, is completely unnecessary. It doesn't actually help do anything. It's just a completely reactive, robotic thing that we do. And in and of itself, it's a waste of energy because it traps our attention and prevents us from, what's the word I'm looking for? It prevents us from entering a state of mental rest where we can recharge. But even more, these reactive thoughts in the form of conversation, they generate emotional responses. So, and you can really see this if you just like passively watch the news, or like doom scrolling is a great example. You'll see something, it'll reactively cause a thought to occur, and then you'll start talking to yourself. And the content of that conversation will create a huge amount of energetic charge. You'll be angry or desirous of something, like maybe an advertisement showing something that you like. Anyway, so that's what I mean by internal dialogue. The internal dialogue, completely useless. If we could get rid of it, that would be fantastic. And largely speaking, that's what meditation is about for me, is lessening or eliminating the internal dialogue. But really, it could be done without meditation at all. You can just be aware that it's happening and decide that I don't need that. I'm not going to listen to it, or I'm just going to completely turn it off. It's very, very difficult at first. But the more you eliminate your internal dialogue, the easier it becomes. All right. Now, on the other side, we've got this concept like self-talk. And to me, this is different, because there's a degree of volition in self-talk. Like, how do you talk to yourself? And I guess the perspective is really that I have on this is very much like a positive psychology perspective. There are reactive elements to self-talk because it's habitual. The way that we talk to ourselves is a trained thing. But it's much less reactive than, I consider it much less reactive than the internal dialogue. Your self-talk can be an internal dialogue. It can be something you don't really have control over. However, if you focus in on self-talk a little bit, it's more, how do you choose to talk to yourself? And going along with this sort of positive psychology model, I think the easiest way to demonstrate this is just think about how you would choose to talk to a child. You, if you're a good parent or a good uncle, someone who's trying to help children in their blossoming into human experience, then you will choose a very specific way of talking with children. There are a lot of different strategies, but of course, it will be volitional. You won't just say whatever comes into your mind. You're going to choose your words. You're going to choose your method of interaction with that child in a serious way. Maybe not serious, sure, not really, more sincere, because there's an amount of silliness that helps too, right? If you really want to connect with children, you have to enter into their world. But in the same way that you would take a lot of effort, make a lot of effort in how you talk to a child, choosing how you talk to yourself is what I mean by self-talk. And I've certainly caught myself so many times thinking, or not thinking, but saying to myself things that are completely destructive. So I guess my question to you, and again to myself, as I've stated this question to myself thousands of times, how would you choose to talk to yourself? And that moves you into a place of very careful reflection about what would actually be helpful for you. The way that you talk to yourself is going to determine a lot of things. In the same way that kind of haphazard internal dialogue can determine your mental state. Anyway, that's my distinction and my reflection for today. I hope it's helpful for you guys. And I'll see you soon, of course. Have a good one.